At the beginning of Emination Shadow Episode 5, we see people fighting amongst themselves. Suddenly, Kagayan enters and notices someone wearing black clothes associated with Onkarm. He asks, "Are you from the same state that defeated the cold members?" The person replies, "My name is Shadow. I operate from the shadows and hunt shadows." Jino confronts Shadow and says, "It seems you think you're very strong after defeating a few weak members of our faction. Let me tell you, those you defeated were not our core members. Judging by your attitude, you seem like the kind of coward who only targets weaklings." Hearing this, Shadow retorts, "It doesn't matter how or where we fight. What matters is the result." Jino counters, "Today's going to be a bad day for you because you're facing another of our members." Joki launches a powerful attack, creating a massive cloud of dust. Alexia, witnessing this, is shocked, and even Jino is left stunned. Shadow is seen standing against an entirely different opponent. Shadow sarcastically remarks to Jino, "What happened? Is this what you call a core member?" The scene shifts to the city, where citizens are being evacuated to safety. Meanwhile, a massive creature appears, spreading terror and destruction everywhere. The knights try to attack it, but they can't inflict even the slightest damage. Instead, the creature counters their attacks, throwing them aside effortlessly. Many people are injured due to the creature's rampage. Just then, Princess Iris arrives. She attacks the creature and successfully injures it. The knights, seeing her, are relieved. Iris orders them to treat the injured immediately. However, to everyone's shock, the creature heals itself completely. The knights exclaim, "Is this a joke? It can heal itself?" As they process this, the creature strikes again. Iris counters the attack with her sword techniques, cutting off one of its hands and throwing it against a wall with her power. But the creature quickly regenerates its hand, leaving Iris surprised. She remarks, "So, you can even heal from this? Then I'll have to cut you into pieces so small that you can't regenerate." Iris begins attacking with her full power, dealing significant damage to the creature. However, suddenly, Alpha intervenes, stopping the fight. Alpha then says, "What are you doing?" As the scene continues, Alpha notices the struggle and tells Iris, "You cannot handle this creature and are only making it suffer more." Iris yells back, "Who are you?" Alpha calmly replies, "My name is Alpha." The creature suddenly attacks Alpha, but she dodges the attack by leaping into the air and counters with a strike of her own. Alpha says, "I know you've endured a lot of suffering, but from now on, I'll ensure you suffer no more." With this, she unleashes an attack on the creature. A bright blue light emerges from her strike, and the creature vanishes into thin air. Iris, standing nearby, is left stunned. Moments later, we see that the creature has transformed into a girl. Alpha discovers a pendant near the girl, picks it up, and starts to leave. However, Iris stops her. Alpha responds, "Sit back, enjoy the show, and be a good audience. We are Shadow Garden, and you should stay out of our way." With that, Alpha walks away. Iris then notices an explosion nearby and remarks, "Is this happening everywhere?" She ponders, "Galaxia, where are you?" Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a fight between Shadow and Juno. Shadow is putting up a strong fight, impressing Juno. Juno remarks, "I underestimated you. Now I see how you managed to destroy Mulbasis. But let me show you the power of a future round knight." Dark magical energy begins to emanate from Juno. Hiranon observes and says, "This is an overwhelming amount of magical energy." Juno launches an attack on Shadow, pushing him back slightly. Juno then strikes again, but Shadow easily blocks the attack. Shadow, faster than Juno, counters with a strike that sends Juno into the water. Alexia, watching from a distance, comments, "This Shadow is incredibly strong." Juno, caught off guard, doesn't notice when Shadow places his sword against his throat and says, "What's wrong? Won't the future round knight attack me anymore?" This infuriates Juno, who attacks Shadow in rage. Shadow skillfully dodges every strike from Juno, countering with swift movements. Their intense exchange causes shockwaves that begin to shatter the surroundings. The area starts to crumble under the force of their battle. Alexia observes Shadow's finesse and seems awestruck by his skills. Alexia, observing Shadow's fighting style, remarks, "This is truly excellent, actually, even beyond excellent." However, as she continues watching, she realizes that Shadow's fancy style is actually quite ordinary. She reflects, "This style is just like the one I used to dream of when I was a little girl." Alexia starts reminiscing about her past and shares, "My sister was so talented and incredibly strong. I used to believe that even though I lacked talent, if I worked hard enough, I could become as strong as her. But no matter what I did, no matter how much I trained, I could never catch up to her. People always compared me to her, and that's the only thing I seemed to excel at, being compared and found wanting." She continues, "My fencing style was plain and ordinary, something I hated about myself. But even so, I never gave up on it. This style, plain and simple as it is, means the world to me." Juno, standing again, says, "Fine. If it's a fight you want, I'll give you one." He explains that anyone who takes on this role surpasses the limits of human capability and becomes incredibly strong. Then, he transforms into an event creature. Juno reveals that he is a third of Kand and that only chosen warriors can properly control this power, which is granted to those seeking to join the Round Knights. Preparing his sword, Juno tells Konganon, "Let me show you the power of the Almighty God," before launching a massive attack. However, Konganon effortlessly catches the strike and responds, "If this is your best, don't delude yourself into thinking you're almighty." Juno, now furious, releases a powerful burst of energy and begins fighting more recklessly. Konganon counters his attacks with ease, eventually overpowering him and sending him crashing to the ground. Konganon stands over Juno and says, "Your efforts are meaningless. Stop trying to delude yourself. The borrowed train is never truly almighty. You cannot traverse its path if you don't possess the right strength." From within Shadow, a blazing purple light starts radiating intensely. Cholo remarks, "The time for games is over." She creates a barrier that moves forward but stops only when it reaches Alexia. Alexia, stunned, asks, "Is this magic?" Juno begins recounting, "There was a time when a man existed who yearned for power so great that even a nuclear bomb couldn't harm him. He trained hard, pushing his body and mind to their limits. After a lifetime of rigorous training, he came to a realization: if he wanted to withstand a nuclear explosion, he would have to become the nuclear explosion himself." As Juno stands tall, he confronts Shadow and says, "You've lost your mind." He then attacks Shadow, but the story abruptly shifts focus. Konganon then steps forward, declaring, "Let me show you what true power is." Raising his sword high, he proclaims, "I am the apex." A massive explosion follows, releasing an intense white light. The blast originates from the ground and starts shooting skyward. Witnessing this, Alpha and the rest of the Shadow Garden are left in awe. Alexis, seeing the brilliance of the light, exclaims, "What on earth is this?" She sets off to investigate the source, leaving others behind. When the explosion finally subsides, it leaves behind a massive crater. The sheer magnitude of this destructive power renders everything else insignificant. Atharish reaches her and lifts her up. When Alexia regains consciousness, she hugs Atharish tightly, saying, "I'm so glad you're safe." She then adds softly, "Thank you." Later, Alexia and others are seen regrouping. Carbon and Relax share a moment of reflection. She continues, "For a long time, we've been pretending to be in a relationship. Now, if you're interested, can we continue this relationship without acting?" At first, it seems like Konganon might reject the idea, but he eventually denies the proposal. Alex, disappointed, walks away. However, she soon smiles, and the sound of a sword being drawn is heard. Bloodstains appear on the wall, signaling a mysterious turn of events. It remains a mystery as to whose blood it was. The scene then transitions to members of the Shadow Gun praising Shadow, acknowledging its immense strength. They discuss how Juno vanished without a trace. Soon, they receive reports about Jetta being assigned a new target for investigation. Additionally, Gita is shown working on a smoothly progressing research report. Another report surfaces, indicating that certain individuals are attempting to tarnish the name of Shadow Gun and are operating under different agendas. Iris appears next, speaking to a group of knights. She points out that the cult of Diabolos and Shadow Garden are carrying out activities far beyond their reach. When one knight asks if she suspects other knights might also be colluding with the cult, Iris responds affirmatively. She appoints 2 of them as members of a new investigation team, tasking them to uncover the truth. Iris then shows them a blueprint, stating, "This is something we need to act upon immediately." Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a girl reading about the same topic in a book. Distracted, she bumps into someone and falls. It turns out the person she bumped into is Cagna, who is covered in blood. Cagna extends his hand, asking, "Are you okay?" The girl blushes slightly and takes his hand. A subtle hint of affection develops between them. The episode ends here, with a note encouraging viewers to subscribe to the channel for the next episode.